landscape contractor job order costing or process costing? This is one of the questions, and it's a subtle question that we get from a lot of landscapers is, how do I cost this stuff? The difference between install and maintenance. This is one of the most common questions we get, but it's a subtle question from landscape contractors is, hey, I've got install and I've got maintenance. I want to cost each one of them to see if there's profitability. How do I do it? Using the wrong costing model in a landscaper's business actually puts you on a foundation to make every other number downstream not helpful. By the end of this video, you're going to know what system of costing is best for the type of landscaping business that you're in and how to start applying it on your very next job. So when I think about landscaping, I think about the idea of chuck in a truck. Like that's what I hear about a lot, is guys getting into business and they're like, I'm going into business for myself. I'm gonna get a pickup truck, a lawnmower, a blower, a weed eater, and they're just gonna go get this stuff done. And then the next thing they know, they're growing and they've got more accounts and they've got more accounts. And then they go to those accounts and the account's like, hey, you're mowing my grass. Why don't you just install my back patio? Or why don't you install this feature in the backyard or the front yard or make my yard look beautiful or whatever. And the next thing they know, they're into enhancements and then they're into installs and then they're into full-blown landscape construction. And the entire time they have no idea if they're making money. They're still thinking with the mind of chucking a truck, but they're not thinking with the business owner's mind running a contracting company. If you have a landscape company, you do both install and enhancements and maintenance, then you really need to think through your costing methodology so you understand if maintenance is profitable and if install and enhancement are profitable. We have the privilege of working with a number of landscape contractors, and we work with contractors in general. But in landscape, it's unique because they've got different scope within the same building, and the fact that they can do maintenance, they can run 100 accounts a week, 200 accounts a week, whatever, and then in the same breath out of the same building, they're doing installations and enhancements at the tune of $200,000 projects, $500,000 projects, $50,000 projects. So they're two very different dynamics in how they operate, and we need to know if either is profitable so we don't succumb from what I've heard it said before is the profitable distraction disease, the PDD. There are a lot of things that you do in your business and in your day where you look at it and go, God, we could make some money doing this. And lo and behold, you make some money doing this, but what it costs you long-term is way more than the money or the time that you earned in that little bit. We call those profitable distractions. They're profitable, but they are distractions from the core. And there are too many landscape contractors. They start at install and they rush to maintenance because that's where the repetitive recurring income is. And what they miss out on is the fact that neither of them has been properly job costed, and they don't know if either is profitable based on the model that they've built out. So if we look and take these two terms, process costing and job order costing, let me tell you where these are going to bias. We're going to take this over here and call this job costing. And then on the right side, we're going to call this process costing. And so you think about, what's the difference? Well, I'm going to cost out the job, and over here, obviously, I'm going to cost out the process of whatever that job is. Well, when you do an install, that's more of a one-off. So you want to take and cost that particular job. That's why we put those two words together, is to cost that job. But when you've got a lump sum of accounts, let's say you've got 200 accounts or 400 accounts, it may not be necessary that you look for job costing for each one of these accounts, but instead that you look for job costing around a bulk level of those accounts. So I want to give you a very specific example. So imagine this is a continuum, right? So we've got process costing over here and job costing over here. Work with a landscape contractor in a resort area. And in that resort area, there were plenty of places that needed their maintenance services. And so their trucks would go all over within a geographical range of about an hour and a half. Doing a lot of sitting, a lot of stopping at the gas stations. They were spending a lot of time and money not working. And so what they started to do was evaluate the different geographical areas that they worked. So they were process costing their maintenance division. So they didn't look house by house, they looked neighborhood by neighborhood. So bulk of houses in neighborhood by neighborhood. And here's what they found out. It was about 6-7 years ago that they made these shifts. There were a couple of neighborhoods that on the face looked amazing. But once they ran the numbers to determine how far away it was, how long it took to get those jobs done, the measure of complaints they got back from customers, all the elements with the amount that they charged the contract, they realized that they could actually be potentially losing money in some particular months throughout the year. Well, they didn't want to lose money in any months throughout the year. I know that's an excuse for a lot of maintenance divisions. Well, it's slow season right now. No, there are ways to make all season at least some sort of revenue generating season. And they made a decision that they didn't want to do that. But they also started doing evaluations of other neighborhoods. And in the other neighborhoods, they found that the customer satisfaction was increased, therefore customer complaints were down. The geography was super small and close to where their office was. And lo and behold, the contract values went up. in that neighborhood. So they thought, wait a second, we already have clients in this neighborhood. How can we stoke and stir more clients in that neighborhood? And this neighborhood that we're losing money on, that's really far away and it's a pain anyway. So why don't we take those out and start to raise these up? And so they took a very bold move and they actually sent out a letter to the first neighborhood after a lot of thought, a lot of preparation, and understanding process costing. And into that neighborhood, they said, we will no longer be servicing this neighborhood. And then they went into this other neighborhood and they started to connect themselves with a variety of garden parties, outdoor events, whatever, in order to connect with the community and rally the people that they already served to become their words of mouth for that community to help them grow. And lo and behold, today, this business could tell you that they are not in any neighborhoods they don't want to be in. They are only working in neighborhoods they want to be in. How did they know? It's because they were process costing neighborhoods. Here's what costing looks like in general, whether you do it job by job or you do it with the whole process of what you're looking at. Here's the numbers that we're looking for. Number one is the contract value, whether it's a maintenance contract or an install contract. From there, we're looking at the cost of goods sold. And so on that job, we know what the cost of goods sold are going to be. But in maintenance, we generally know how much the truck and trailer and the labor and the gas and all those sorts of things are in a given week for a number of properties. Again, we're process costing the process of delivering that maintenance. And so we take our contract value, either maintenance or install, subtract our cost of goods. That's going to give us our gross profit. Now, we still have things coming out of there because we're going to take out our overhead expense, and that should get us close to our net income and what that looks like. But this is job by job. This is collection by collection, groupings of properties or whatever it is that you've got in this collection. So if you're building multiple houses at the same time, maybe you're a semi-production or production builder, you may lean more towards process costing and costing the entire process of what that particular neighborhood looks like versus just the house. By the way, semi-production, production guys, I still recommend that you cherry pick and do some individualized job costing on houses just like they would in a manufacturing plant. Pull them out, take a look at them from all angles. Look at the contract value, the cost of goods associated, you'll get your gross profit, and then suck out your overhead that's tabbed to that particular house, and then you can pull the camera back to see what it's looked like tabbed to the process costing. One element I think will be helpful for you as you think about this cost of goods sold right here. A lot of people struggle to come up with what that number is and what should be included in that number. Many people say that's above the line, but I don't always know what goes in there. So I'm gonna give you a little cheat sheet. If you, and I'll do this in green for obvious reasons, if you look at the word or the acronym SLIME, subcontractors, labor, material, and equipment. We start with the non-people side of this, and so put a little person here with an X around them, and we have the people side of this over here. So any people-related costs that are not caught up in your overhead would be tabbed as a cost of goods sold. Any non-people-related costs, materials, equipment, that are not fixed, recurring things in your overhead are going to be caught up in your cost of goods. And so a lot of times we get overwhelmed with what's in cost of goods. That's an easy way to look at it. Our subcontractors that we're bringing in, the labor that we have, maybe we have them as W-2, but we're attaching them to a job and we'll catch their labor burden in that. That's one caveat that I want you to pay attention to. You're not just paying somebody, if they're a W-2 employee, 50 grand, you're actually paying them 50 grand plus payroll taxes, plus benefits, plus all of the other accoutrements that come with paying for that person that you wouldn't have to pay if that person wasn't here. So make sure you're collecting all of those numbers that are in there. Now, I know sometimes this can be a little overwhelming, and I'm just talking about the idea of costing. And costing is helping us understand profitability or non-profitability. Do we continue moving in this direction or do we not? Now, this fits within a larger whole. I want you to run a construction business, frankly, that can run and grow with or without you. So here's what I want you to do. This piques your interest on the financial side of it. I want you to see where this fits. So click on the link in the description below. I have built for you a powerful long-form masterclass that you can sit down with, and it will teach you how to build systems for your construction business so you can see where the job costing or the process costing discipline fits within the type of landscaping company that you have. So click on that link below. Why? It's because many landscape contractors are living in chaos. They're just sort of on a whim, taking contracts in maintenance, taking contracts in install, but they don't know if those contracts are profitable or not. And that lack of knowing creates chaos, and our aim is to liberate you from that chaos to make time for the things that matter most.